with Goku being faster and jumping around and popping onto the guy and popping off. So fun. Really, again, it's that Jackie Chan kind of feeling
Yeah.
of, the big guy is stronger, but I'm faster, so I'm going to sort of get in his way repeatedly. Hello and welcome to DBZ, the Dragon Ball Rewatch podcast from CBR. We are now at episode 3, the Nimbus Cloud of Roshi. For those who missed last time, we had Bulma and Goku getting more friendly with each other. Before I get to that, I've got two people with me who are also going to endure the Roshiness.
Yeah. This is Sam Stone here for the latest episode of Dragon Ball Rewatch.
I'm Alyx. I too am here for the latest episode of Dragon Ball Rewatch, and in honor of Master-roshi, we're putting on our Master-roshi gi and getting ready to talk about our favorite perverted master.
Yeah, so this made its debut in Japan's episode March 12th, 1986. First time in the US was September 23rd in 1995. It was acceptable in the 80s is going to be the refrain for this today. And it adapts 2 chapters from the manga, Sea Monkeys, and they call him the Turtle Hermit, which sounds way more ominous than it should.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, we get into ominous stuff that he does, and
yeah. So for a summary of what this episode is, Turtle, our favorite character, we've decided, gets taken to the sea, and he rewards Goku and Bulma by bringing Roshi over, who gives them a gift. And at the same time, Pilaf and his crew decide to go to Roshi's house and steal his Dragon Ball.
I think even before we get into that, we got to talk about the bandit guy they fight, who for some reason starts large and then becomes the size of an Ozuru very quickly.
I love him because he has Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice, but not Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. It's an impression of the impression everyone does of Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. Like, it's not actually how he's ever sounded, but it's just how all impressionists make him sound for some reason.
Really? Because he sounded kind of like vaguely Russian to me when he was talking. Like,
if you watch like old 80s sketch shows, whenever they do an Arnold, it will be that voice, but it's not how he ever sounded.
My favorite part of that whole sequence though is when Goku is like fighting him and he lands on his snout, and the snout is wider than Goku is at that point. So Goku has like a firm place to land, and then he decks him in the forehead and blood goes everywhere. But the dude, and then Turtle goes back to being a different size. Nobody knows what sizes anything should be in this scene, and it's very funny to me.
The fight is really nice. It's a really nicely animated comic fight, with Goku being faster and jumping around and popping onto the guy and popping off. So fun. Again, it's that Jackie Chan kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Of, the big guy is stronger, but I'm faster, so I'm going to sort of get in his way repeatedly.
It's very Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes. It really does feel that way. Like Goku's climbing his way up with every jump in order to get to the sweet spot. I love when he lands on the sword too. Like just how fun that little shot is, because he's so convinced he got him. But yeah, and then we get to meet Master Roshi.
Yeah, that's huge, right? Because we know obviously he's a character that survives through Super, takes a bigger role in Super than he does in Z, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, his we immediately know his character based on this episode. We know how well he can deal with intruders in his home. We know how randy he gets on the reg, especially for Bulma. But we also see his generosity of spirit. You know, we see him willing to give Goku the Nimbus Cloud, the titular Nimbus Cloud, and we see him willing to give Bulma, albeit with some convincing, give up his Dragon Ball.
I really like how they introduce him coming in on the turtle. It's a really lovely framed shot. So it calls back to a lot of sort of classical Japanese art of the sort of various Buddhist figures. But I love how immediately it tells you this is a character who is important. Pay attention. Just signpost. This is the most important man you've met so far, and this is going to be a big scene. I'm surprised because I think I'm thinking of later, but Roshi here wasn't as bad as he will become.
No.
He's bordering on acceptable. Bordering on.
I will say, because a lot of what happens to Roshi here in that department is reactive.
Yeah.
He's reacting to being
like
shown things as opposed to
I'm just gonna throw this out here. Roshi did ask to see a 16-year-old girl's underwear. Like we can't move past it without like saying that. And granted, he got a lot more of an eyeful than he initially intended upon because for some reason Bulma didn't know she wasn't wearing underwear, which is confusing to me, especially because she was on a motorcycle for an extended period of time.
Even more confusing,
But
apparently it's because Goku stole her underwear, is the implication. That joke makes zero sense. I thought, oh, is this a dubism? I went back to the manga and it's the joke there as well. I just don't fully understand.
The idea is
Apparently,
that the
she
idea
put it on.
Yeah, it's weird because the passage of time between episodes 2 and 3 is kind of nebulous. The way that it's positioned is the gag is positioned. It's like, oh, she doesn't have her underwear because Goku took it off trying to sleep on what he thought were non-existent balls. And but yeah, like Alex was saying, that she did go out and dress up like and ride a motorcycle, and yeah, it's very ill-defined, frankly.
I
yeah,
do want to give credit to my favorite of the older dubs, where there's a scene at the end where she realizes, oh no, I don't have any underwear on because my underwear. She realizes because she finds the underwear on the floor, not because she can feel her body. So I presume she's numb from the legs down. But
yeah.
they to get around that in the early dub, what they do is they don't have her acknowledge the underwear. She says, Goku, why did you put ants in my dresser?
Hmm.
Which
Hmm.
I guess they couldn't change the animation, but it raises even more questions.
It raises way too many questions.
Like,
Like
Goku, why are you putting ants in things?
I do before we get more into Roshi, I do want to talk about Goku's reaction to seeing the ocean for the first time.
It's adorable.
That's so cute. It's so sweet. It also brings it back to like we talked about it in the last episode, how kind of sad Goku's life really kind of was in between the death of Grandpa Gohan and Bulma because not only was he alone, he was isolated. Like he never thought to go anywhere else. And it shows that he is a very independent, like he can, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn his way through things, but at the same time, this was this little kid who never got to experience these things that seems so obvious to a character like Bulma. So I just wanted to point out that moment because it's one
Yeah.
of my favorite moments in the episode where he's like, the ocean.
It's definitely one of those things that now watching as an adult, I definitely, again, having, children, you go, this is, as a kid, it's a cool adventure, but as an adult, you go, wow, this kid really was just left, wasn't he? It definitely, the more you think about it, the more it becomes a bit of a tragic story.
Well, and well, in terms of backstory, I mean, that part of it, I think the joy of it is that we get to see all these things get introduced through Goku, vicariously through Goku. We get to see him in the big city for the first time in a few episodes. We get to see it's taking this really innocent, sheltered figure and like just opening up the entire world. We're seeing Toriyama's version of the world through Goku at the same time that he is. And yeah, I love that. I love that scene. I love the idea. And I love how happy he is to ride the Nimbus because
Yeah.
it becomes such an intrinsic part of his character, at the very least through Dragon Ball and early Z. But yeah, just that for me, that's as big a meeting as Goku meeting Roshi in a lot of ways.
And it's such a big moment. I really like how they set it up because what that getting the Nimbus feels like, it feels like when you're playing a game, a video game, like an open world game, and the tutorial
Yeah.
ends and the world opens up. I think this is a really good push because the third episode is always the awkward one. It's sort of the point where a lot of people will drop off if they're not interested. By giving him the Nimbus here, they basically said, "Hey, the whole world is now open.
I
We're
mean,
going
they
to see."
basically did that in Kakarot too, in the
Yeah,
video game, where when they get to the more open world stuff, you get the Nimbus, even though you can still kind of fly. Like the flying Nimbus also becomes such a major part of like Goku's iconography in a way. Like if we're gonna talk mythologically, like even for the splash art for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, like he's on the Nimbus. He's not flying. He's not Super Saiyan. He's on the Nimbus. A lot of stuff still puts adult Goku on the Nimbus Cloud, and it shows how important that one little detail is. And I love that the Nimbus has so much character. Like the way the Nimbus moves, and it squishes and foreshortens, and like doesn't seem to like Roshi very much anymore. It's I love that.
it definitely feels like a character as opposed to an object.
Yeah. Yeah. In the age where everything is kind of like sentient and friendly, like Mjolnir or Doctor Strange's, levitating cloak. Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball's here first, guy. Or well, at least in terms of these objects being displayed as sentient.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I mean the last shot of the opening title sequence of Dragon Ball throughout the entire Dragon Ball run is Goku on the Nimbus, like with Bulma in the helicopter. So that very big important piece of the puzzle is put into place here. And yeah, no, it's like playing Breath of the Wild and you finally get the glider to access the rest of Hyrule. It's awesome.
It, and it's just so cute, like Goku laughing and flying the Nimbus and just genuinely like enjoying him. Like Goku's always enjoying himself in a way, but there's something that there's always moments that bring you back to the fact that he's still a kid in this series, and I love him riding the Nimbus. I also love Roshi mentally going through the Rolodex of what he could give people
Mhm.
because he doesn't have the magic carpet, and he's like, no, the wheels fell off of that. Maybe like I love that kind of like moment with Roshi where he's like, nah, what I don't know what I have. Let's go through it.
I do like Roshi's characterization in this episode. Sort of datiness aside, I love old kung fu movies, and they really nail that feeling of the monk who basically went so hard into his order that he's become weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all he's done is he's lived on his own, which is great and noble and religious, but at the same time, he's also now an absolute pain to be around because he's been so noble and religious and alone for so long. He has no idea how people work. You see it in a lot of these films, and they do it here, and it makes him so much fun. Also, for characters, I want to point out there's actually the Torybot cameo.
Yes, the Tori. I was gonna point out the Toribot
It's
cameo, and I totally
yeah,
forgot.
Toriyama's little man, his little icon. This dub does cut the line. He has a line where he asks for directions to Penguin Village, which is the location from Doctor Slump, which
Yeah.
is a shame, but I get American viewers will have no idea what that means.
I
But I
was
do think
also
it's a major moment because the idea that sort of the animators have agreed and the studio has agreed to let there be an author cameo in here kind
Mhm.
of makes it clear that we've accepted this show is going to go on more. We have faith in this show and we have faith in you to the point we're going to let you have this little moment. So I think it's also not only is the Nimbus opening up the world, Torybot appearing opens up the fact that hey, we're going now. Dragon Ball has established it and we're going to keep going.
And we also get the first Dragon Ball that they technically find together, even though Roshi brings it to them. It's like their first like together victory of finding the 3-star ball. Because like the 4-star ball is so important for Goku, but then you get the 3-star ball that gets to be added into the collection. And I think that that's also very fun and leads into all the issues with Emperor Pilaf. And before we talk about the breaking in, there's one moment I want to talk about with Pilaf where he pulls a knife on the alligator, like
I love
straight up pulls a knife on him. And there's something about that is just so like kind of whoa, hang on now, buddy.
it's both hilarious and a really nice character moment because I think it again establishes that Pilaf is a threat. He is willing to do something that no one else would do. Because so far, all the sort of monsters Goku have fought are fighting to eat. Like even the guy at the start of the episode, he wants to eat Goku. He wants food. Where in this case, Pilaf is pulling a knife to threaten someone. It's a very different dynamic to basically be that sadistic, and it gives him a bit of an aura of like, oh, when these two guys meet, there is going to be something happen.
Especially because they juxtapose that moment against him like not realizing that the window is open.
Which is key.
There's one Goku line that it's really a quibble. It's not like a huge complaint of mine. But there's a scene where like Goku's wondering why the bad guy would want to eat turtle. And he's like, "Oh, we have leathery skin, tough leathery skin. You wouldn't
We're
like it."
poisonous.
Poisonous, yeah. And he's just like, "Oh, that's fine. I'm not somebody who eats anything." And it's just like, "Brother, we just saw you eat a wolf in the preceding episode, and when you first see the Nimbus cloud, you're like, 'Yo, can I eat this?'"
It's my brother. You ate a millipede in the last episode. If you forget about that part too, like a whole bug.
Yeah.
But turtle, too far, too much.
Which I appreciate because we all
Goku
love.
has weird morals. I think.
Yeah. his
Goku's
astronomy, I mean, I just don't know.
blue and orange morality. But the stuff with the Pilaf gang also gives us more insight into Roshi too, because when they ask him to like push the plane, then he knocks a hole into it because I guess he was just like, they seem rude. Enjoy the bottom of the ocean.
I love how he's like, I've just killed 3 people, but that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's Dragon Ball. Killing doesn't count in Dragon
Ball. To be fair, they broke the non-aggression protocol first, so it's fine.
They did break into his house.
I do really like the structure of this episode. So again, Pilaf is not in the manga. He doesn't appear in chapter 18. But I like how we have these parallel lines going between these 2 groups. Because it keeps the pace up, but it does open this idea up. They could meet at any time. So again, you've got to keep watching. You can't skip an episode because these 2 could bump into each other any day now. And when that happens, who knows what's going to happen?
Especially now that Pilaf is in the field, right? Because he kept to himself. He never was involved with the wolf incident in episode 2. Now he's willing to go out there because he's frustrated by Shu and Mai not getting the job done as far as he's concerned. And so, yeah, those paths are starting to converge.
Also, I really do like how we do see a tiny bit of Pilaf's kingdom here with him on the horse and everyone bowing down. It's a nice character moment. And it kind of does answer the question of, he's emperor of what?
But it also, again, gets juxtaposed when he gets into the plane with Shu and Mai, and Shu is not afraid to be like, oh, I wonder why it's cramped in here. Like, and then immediately turns it around like, oh, I'm just saying we're taking off. Like, it's like there's something very fun about the fact that, yeah, people are afraid of Pilaf and he is a threat. But then you also have the show kind of cutting that off at the knees in certain places where it's like, no, we're still gonna dunk on him a little bit.
Shu has jester's privilege, I think, is very heavily established.
Oh, poor Shu.
One thing I really do...
By now they all do, right? Because they all technically drown.
They all technically drown, but they're fine. It in death doesn't count in Dragon Ball, and in Dragon Ball, a lot of people are going to get murdered, and we're never going to address it. Like,
we'll keep
wait till we get to Red Ribbon.
Yeah. I mean, there's a scene at the end of the episode where Bulma basically lights up Goku with a submachine gun from behind.
Yes.
Amazing. Like,
how many guns does she have is the question.
All of them.
So
all of them.
What's even funnier is that in the manga, she tells Goku that he's all right because she wasn't shooting to kill.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Because at first I was like, oh, is it maybe just a pellet gun maybe or something? But no. It's an actual machine gun. Bulma is packing heat and has no qualms.
There's a sequence when the Red Ribbon Army comes into play where and it's played for laughs as well, where they shoot Goku in the head and they're like, okay, job well done. And then he comes up and he's like, it's a headache for him. He's just like, oh man,
I get shot so much.
Yeah, so that's kind of I'm trying to think if there's ever an instance where someone gets shot by bullets and they actually of the Z fighters and they actually are like, oh man, but I think everyone's pretty safe.
The only one I can think of is there's this moment, I think it's in the Boo arc, where it's really dark too, this particular moment where this old couple's walking down the street and then this guy just shoots them down and you see the old man crawling towards his wife. that stuff's rough.
Oh, characters get shot, ordinary characters get shot and killed, but
not the Z fighters.
But not the Z fighters, and I think it happens as early as the series premiere, and they double down on it for slapstick purposes here.
I think, yeah, at this point, guns kind of become Bulma's equivalent of the hammer from City Hunter, which is just her way of using an exclamation mark. It's not to be taken seriously as a weapon. Talking of items, one thing I really like about this episode, and it's been a sort of a recurring thing, is how Roshi doesn't know what the Dragon Ball really is. He just found it. He says it washed up in the manga. He dredged it from the ocean. I do like this idea that people don't really know what the Dragon Balls are, compared to later episodes where every man and his dog is chasing after I guess Pilaf's every man and his dog, but everyone knows what they are, and every single being in the universe has an encyclopedic knowledge of all of them. I like this kind of early feel where for some people they're just rocks, because if you've never seen them together, how are you going to learn what they do?
Pre-Z.
Yeah, I think it also opens up a lot of fun.
Well, there's an inconsistency too, because we see Dragon Balls are supposed to be relatively indestructible.
People
It's
wear them as necklaces.
He's got a necklace. It's on a suction cup here. When Yajirobe shows up, you'll see that they aren't as indestructible as they were.
I've always kind of presumed that they had some form of like vague sentience or being able to read your mind a bit. Like if you want to do it enough, they'd be like, yeah, what the hell?
I mean, in the Namek arc, Vegeta, I think Vegeta yells at Krillin to break one of the Dragon Balls, and he never gets like the chance to actually do it. But I do remember that scene particularly.
You can break. People have done it. It's just it's very weird to be able to break it and like drill a hole through one to fit on a necklace.
Yeah,
it's that weird middle ground where it doesn't break. It just acts like an actual gem.
Yeah.
You think the dragon doesn't like that? You think the dragon is just like, yo, I'm not like that's not cool. That's my house, man. Like
just comes out. Listen here, you.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that was a thing.
Definitely. But it's interesting. That means because Bulma already has Dragon Balls when the series starts. And of course, she's got Goku's 4-star now, and now Roshi's 3-star. So the amount of progression that we're seeing already, and of course,
we already know where 4 of them are because Pilaf has 1.
Yeah, that's right.
It definitely avoids. I think we talked about it previously. Inuyasha, the Inuyasha problem of MacGuffins are always 500 chapters away. It's definitely a really nice bit of pacing.
It's kind of what killed me on like Pokemon too, because when Pokemon, both the games and the series started, you knew how many Pokemon there were, and then they just kept coming.
How many Sailor Scouts are there? 7.
Yeah.
How many One Pieces are there? 1. There is 1 piece. You can trust it.
I mean, watch Oda do something where it's suddenly like it was broken, and it was just like
no, the end. It turns out it's the 4-star One Piece, and a map to the rest of them.
I read an interview somewhere where Oda was like, I need to start figuring out what the One Piece actually looks like.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I definitely that was it. When I saw it the other day, and it was in my mind when watching this episode. It's so nice compared to a lot of modern Shonen Jump, how Dragon Ball laid out its stall, and this is what we're running with. You know exactly what we're hunting, and we're going to get to it pretty damn soon. They're making it very clear gathering the Dragon Balls and getting the dragon isn't going to be the end game. Yeah. And it's so refreshing in sort of an era where anime take a good 15 episodes to even hit their main plot point.
Yeah, or even to introduce like all their their real main characters. Like, because in Dragon Ball, the main characters really are Goku and Bulma, and that does shift a little bit later. But for the first like 50 at least episodes, it's really their roadshow.
Oh yeah,
really until they start training for the 21st.
Yeah,
Tenkaichi Budokai, because then you get a new what's the term for
Deuteragonist?
Deuteragonist through Krellin, but we'll get there. We're still about 15 to 20 episodes off.
Yeah, I love the pace. It's so nice. The pace
is great. I think the other thing I really do want to bring up in this episode, and I talked a little bit about it last time, was about the Pilaf gang and the technology thing, because Pilaf has his like special secret key thing, and they have their plane that's not just a plane, it's also got an aquatic mode. Like there's something very kind of fun and James Bond villainy about that, which I really love. I really want to know about this gator. Like, does this gator live on Roshi's Island? Like, I can't remember if we see this gator again. He has a lawn chair. I have so many questions around this gator.
What I like about the tech thing as well is actually when you see Pilaf going through the town, and it's very classical Chinese with all the peasants, and he's on the horse. I really like we're setting up this kind of almost a class struggle element here of Goku being this sort of boy of the earth who's struggles for everything he gets kind of thing. And then you've got Pilaf, who has just got everything he could want, any random gadget, but none of them make him happy. And I think there's something delightfully Buddhist about that idea of like, Goku is going to beat this guy because Pilaf just wants too much and can never stop wanting, despite having more than Goku could ever imagine. And I think it's a really cute episode. It makes Goku such a natural sort of baby face.
Actually, I have a question because I'm trying to remember now. Did Goku ever directly make a wish on the Dragon Balls?
Oh,
he suggests people makes wishes, but he doesn't, he has intermediaries do it for him, whether it's the Bora, right?
Yeah, I think.
unless Upa beats him to it and runs to the dragon like, give me my dad back. But
Yeah.
but
I yeah, I think that question comes down a lot to how you define directly, because I can't think of one where it was just him and no other person. That might be something we'll have to look up before the next we'll find before the next episode, because now I'm really curious because I don't think it did. I don't think he ever
Because I think
does.
because if he never wished on the Dragon Balls directly, like he was never like Shenron X, Y, and Z, like I think that kind of ties back into kind of that Buddhist point where it's like, yeah, he's made suggestions, but Goku's never asked the dragon for anything, as far as I can remember. Like I could be totally wrong.
I think at the end of GT as well, if we're counting that, he's basically, because after Sin Shenron or Omega Shenron, whatever you want to call him's done, like he's like, okay, no more wishes, and he's like, could you just bring back all the people that were killed by Super 17? And he's like, yeah, fine, but you're gonna ride with me, boy. And then so
Get in the car.
Yeah. And
Get in the car. End of GT.
Yeah, I think end of GT, if memory serves.
It's certainly, but you're right. It's certainly not as many as you'd think for the hero collecting the MacGuffins.
He doesn't get the first one. He doesn't get the first. We're gonna see that soon. He doesn't get the first wish.
We know who gets the first
hero.
As we are sort of heading towards the end of the episode, any final thoughts on Roshi and his nimbusing ways?
It's a very important episode. It's a relatively faithful adaptation, minus the peel-off stuff. I like it overall, with the continued caveat on the choice of humor, which I'll be saying a lot. I think it's the first episode. It is the next big episode in the trajectory of the series.
I genuinely love this episode. I love the little Easter eggs in it with a Toribot. I do genuinely love the interactions between Roshi and Turtle. I do enjoy those little moments, and I love Goku in this episode. I think that this is around where we really get to see like the joyousness and the ability that Goku has to really box someone really good. So I love this episode. I think it's a great third episode, and it is a proof of concept. So
I was dreading this episode. I was really dreading Roshi's arrival, but I ended up being won over by him. I think at this point he is enough of a rounded character that while I don't like the humor and it's dated, it doesn't feel as horrible as it would get later on. And I just love the pace and how they're building this plot. Means it's so mesmerizing. You don't want to. Once you start an episode, it's so easy to just end up watching 6 because you are constantly moving. It feels like there's a definite plan and something is going to be big is going to happen every episode. It's just a masterclass in how to draw people in to a series and keep them watching. And if you want to get drawn in, you can be watching Dragon Ball on Crunchyroll, or you can get the manga via Viz Media that's available on their app and in physical copies. There it is. Very nice. It's a very nice physical copy. Thank you for watching this episode of Dragon Ball Rewatch, and we'll be back next week with episode 4. I forgot what episode we're on already. Yeah, episode 4.
We'll see you next time on Dragon Ball.